Anita will join us, so I don't normally gavel or anything, so I'm going to declare a quorum and we're going to begin. Oh, there's Anita right there. We're waiting for you.
Hello.
All right, so I'm going to move, I'm going to move public comment just until after we've taken care of some administrative duties. So we have, I'm going to move it till after we elect officers. We don't have any public comment. I thought there might be more. So.
There's one.
Yeah, so anyway, we'll move it. You have more time. So the first thing we're going to do is consider, the first thing we should do is swear in our new trustee. So this is Lisa Faria.
Close. Faria,
sorry. Our new trustee, and she has a 5-year term, so she's gonna, you'll all get to know her very, very well. You introduced yourself last time. You just want to quickly introduce yourself again?
Sure.
Sorry, I didn't even prepare you for that.
That is okay. Well, it's such a pleasure to be here. I've already met, I think, many of you and hope to meet the rest of you at some point. I am delighted to be able to contribute to this board. I am a huge reader and I have 2 kids in the Boulder. Oh my gosh, I guess it's now one. One graduated, is about to go to CU. So I have 1 kid in the Boulder high schools. I'm the CEO and managing partner of a venture capital fund. So I invest in early stage companies and agricultural products. And our hope is to make and improve the food system. And so we have a bunch of different investments actually here in Boulder that decrease waste or just in general make the food system better. I am married and I live in Key West.
All right, welcome. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Thank you for your volunteer service. Now, I'm going to administer the oath that I'm going to read. I think this is statutorily written, so just repeat after me.
All right.
I state your name.
I, Lisa Feria,
Do swear that I will faithfully support the Constitution of the United States and the state of Colorado.
do swear that I will faithfully support the Constitution of the United States and of the state of Colorado
And the laws of the state of Colorado.
and the laws of the state of Colorado,
And will faithfully perform the duties of the office of trustee of the Boulder Public Library District, upon which I am about to enter, to the best of my ability.
and will faithfully perform the duties of the office of the trustee of the Boulder Public Library District, upon which I am about to enter to the best of my ability.
All right, congratulations.
Thank you.
So I'm going to sign this, and do you need to notarize it, or does it really?
No,
Okay.
just both of you need to.
Okay. There's a notary thing, but that's okay. That's a lawyer. All right, cool. One thing down. So consider, now you can vote and do all of the fun things.
Great.
So consider approval of the meeting minutes of April 21st, 2026. Does anyone have any comments on the meeting minutes from April 21st?
I do.
Okay.
So, a few things. It's always interesting to read minutes of meetings that you did not attend. So, on agenda item 4 under the consideration of collective bargaining policy, it says the board discussed Duran's previous email recommendation. So, nowhere yet does it recognize that I was absent at the meeting. So,
Okay.
I'd like
Your
to.
name's not in the list.
Right, but then, I mean, I think it would be confusing to anybody reading it. It's like, why is she here and not there?
I thought, yeah, that makes sense.
No, I know, but so my recommendation actually wasn't that the item be tabled, it was that it be a two reading item so that it could be voted on once at the meeting on April and then again today with thinking that with the new board member, I know you were at the meeting when you observed that, but still, I was just, what my email reference was not that it be tabled, so if you would just correct that to say that what I was recommending, that it be a 2 reading item.
Okay.
And I understand that you all discussed that and decided not to do it, but I wasn't asking that we table the item. I'm glad you all voted and proceeded and everything that has followed. I was just suggesting that it be read 2 times so that a new member who has a 5-year term could be a active
Got it.
voter of it, right? So if you just correct that.
So I think instead of correcting the minute, let's just put a parenthesis, like a square thing, like that one, and just say clarification note that with Benita's clarification that says what she intended from her email was that if he voted twice, like that.
Yeah,
right?
the 2 items.
The
Yeah.
2 item, two
meeting items.
a 2 vote. Yeah, because this was what we said during the meeting,
Yeah.
and so this would be like
Oh, I'm sorry it was represented in that way too, because I was
I
never
don't know how to-
suggesting.
a bracket, sorry,
Oh, okay.
a bracket. I didn't know what the name of that thing is.
For sure.
A bracket that
Once you
says,
said that, that made more sense.
clarity note and just, because it was me interpreting an email that she sent so that,
Oh.
and the clarity from her would be a direct comment that a 2 reading item, this be a 2 reading item, voted on twice.
Oh, yeah.
That way, we're reflecting what was actually said in the meeting and the clarity of today.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, I wasn't clear that I was also in a remote location, so I couldn't join in. But, and then in agenda item 6, I just wanted to understand or clarify why the fairs emphasize the need to, and then in quotes, be strict about the buildings we have and take care of them. I just wondered why that was in quotes and.
It was under a quote.
But when other people, I guess, directly say something, I didn't think it was a quote. I don't know, it just seemed so odd to me that was in there. And I didn't know what the reference was really to that. So this, if that's the case.
What would make you feel better? If we just changed it.
Or just to
Parents
remove
emphasize the
the
need to take
quotes,
care of buildings.
just to take care of,
Okay.
get rid of the quotes, because it just, it just seems such a, like a directive. Okay, so that satisfies me in my absence and in thoroughly reading minutes. Thank you.
All right. Any other comments on the meeting minutes? This is the one thing you might abstain for because you weren't here. Yeah. Oh, yeah, you were here. That's right.
Yeah.
Sorry. All right, then you can vote. All right, so I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes from April 21st, 2026. Somebody second it? Sylvia?
I'll second it.
Okay, thank you. All
My job.
All in favor of approving the meeting minutes?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so we already done that. So we're gonna elect officers now. And of course I went to a different email. Okay, here we go. So for the officer seats, we have one person who's put their name in for president, Ms. Werba, Sylvia, one for vice president, Andy, and one consideration for treasurer, Benita. And the nominations for representative of the library board would be Tom and me. The foundation board. And then, Andy, you thought that you would take one more month as the foundation, on the foundation. I would start in November.
Yeah, I mean,
June.
we can talk about this as well, but the foundation has a meeting next week, and I would like to attend that meeting just because it'll be my last foundation meeting. So yeah, I would say if possible, I would happily stagger with whoever we elect here and effectively still attend this month's meeting, and then whoever we elect could start with next month's meeting. If folks are highly opposed to that, this is not a hill I need to
I'm all
die
in
on.
favor of
but-
that.
I'm fine.
Tom, are you-
I won't attend one, and Tom, can you go? And what do you think?
Can I say what the more here?
Okay.
There's no like
One in, one out at our meeting.
Right, oh, that's true. With the three of us, if we were all together, we have to notice the meeting.
Right.
Yeah, we can't.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
Yes.
Very good.
So, which I don't mind doing, but you might mind it, but.
I understand.
Tom, are you able to go next week or?
If I didn't have to go next week, that would be great.
Okay, good.
Okay.
I'll go next week and you can start the following week, Thomas.
Yeah.
I'm voting for this lady. I'm just kidding.
If I get approved to be on the foundation. And so, how do you want to elect should we talk about the committees too now? And do we elect them all or do we have to elect the committees? I'm
We
sorry.
elected the committee.
We just kind of said who wants to do
said
it.
who did it.
Yeah, okay. So, do you want you do that or do you want me to do
No,
that?
I have,
Foundation.
do whatever you
Okay.
wish.
Sorry, I'm be
I'm
respectful.
flexible here.
All right, so for the finance committee, Benita, if she is elected and I don't see any other nominations for treasurer, will be on the finance committee. And is there anyone else that wants to be on the finance committee? We talked to Lisa about potentially doing it. Is there anybody else that would want to do it?
Not everybody at the same time. I know it's the sexiest one.
Okay, so sounds like we have the finance committee and the governance committee. I said I would be on the governance committee. I was hoping maybe Nadine, would you? It's a pretty light lift. Want to be on the governance committee with me?
Or happy to be your partner in crime.
Okay, yeah, it's a pretty easy one. So, thank you. All right, so how did we vote this? Just vote the slate of officers as presented.
Yeah,
That's what
All
it
right.
is.
so I would make that motion to.
Okay, and I'll second it. So we're voting for all in favor or opposed now for the slate of officers as indicated.
As well as the foundation board members and the governance as noted, or the governance and finance committee members.
Correct. Thank you. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Nadine, all opposed? Okay, two of the code. Okay, everyone voted for it, so no one voted against it. Sorry, online hybrid stuff is a little. All right, congratulations. You're my pen, new president, so I'm gonna move the gavel
Oh my God.
to you. Gavel. So, and I can retire.
No, you can't.
All right, sorry.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. I'm excited to be doing this little part. All right, so next we have public comment, and there's only one person's name on this list for public comment. Laura.
Laura is not here yet, so I'm going to speak on her behalf.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. My name is Christine Burke, she, her pronouns. I'm a volunteer coordinator here at the library, speaking on behalf of Laura Nisdo, who is on our patron services team here at the main library. This process has offered many surprising opportunities for reflection and learning. What did not surprise me, however, was the overwhelming support my colleagues expressed for forming a union. Our card count was independently validated at 80%, an uncommon level of consensus. As anyone who's done poll or survey work knows, getting this kind of majority is a huge achievement. It reflects our shared, unified commitment to having a meaningful voice in our workplace. To me, this is only natural. A library is meant to strengthen its community and likewise needs a strong internal community, which we have cultivated with care here over time. This unity reflects one of the core missions of the library, to strengthen its community. To do so effectively, we must likewise maintain a strong internal community, something I think there's a little bit of repetition here, I apologize. Something our staff have cultivated with care over many years, which brings us together this evening. Trustees, staff, and community members, this is our shared care for this institution and dedication to those it serves. We appreciate the board's collaboration in developing the framework for union recognition. We now ask that you finalize it so we can move forward together into the collective bargaining process. Voluntary recognition will support and simplify continued collaboration, strengthen our library system, and ensure staff have the collective voice they clearly stand behind. We look forward to continuing this work in a spirit of partnership and shared purpose. Thank you.
Okay, is there anyone online who wishes to make a public comment? Okay, do we know if she's gonna be back? Laura.
She was under the impression the meeting started at 6:30, so
Oh.
I apologize.
Okay, all right, well, I think we're gonna have to move on. I'm sorry she wasn't able to be here. Okay, that closes public comment. So next I will look at David for the strategic plan update.
Yeah, so you have the memo in the packet. I mean, the data committee is mostly wrapped up their work. There's still a few things that we're putting together. You have a summary of some of the important data findings from just over the last year. The numbers that you see in front of you, they're all great, right? Those are really awesome numbers. Buoyed heavily by the opening of the Novo and the Gun Barrel libraries in the last 2 years. So I don't want you to get your heads wrapped around like, wow, the library's growing at incredible rates. This probably 60-70% of the growth that we saw was as a result of those 2 brand new libraries that were opened up. That was a major accomplishment for the library district and represented the service area population of somewhere between 30 and 40,000 people that didn't really have a library in their neighborhood. So that is a major milestone. Absent
But that's new people that are coming to the library.
most of which are new people.
Yeah.
We have not seen, any cannibalism, any major cannibalism. There are some, signs of Meadows and the main library are mostly flat. So seeing no growth for this year, for 2026. So that does indicate that at least some portion of that new growth that we're seeing in other places maybe is offset demand for people coming. That data, the primary kind of driver of the data that we're seeing among patron use is the profound shift that we saw towards digital really over the last 5 years. It began, 20 years ago. Libraries invested, a lot of money and time and energy in making library access convenient. The increase in people being on holds, the stress on digital collections, and so the result of that has been, in some sense, a flattening of physical contact within the library. So our door count, while seeing really great growth last year, we're still under 2019 numbers by a significant margin. Physical circulation is down probably about 30 to 35% from where we were in 2019 before the pandemic. The growth is really happening in the digital sphere, online checkouts. So online checkouts, as you see from the data, make up 40% of total circulation. It makes up 53% of first-time checkouts, which is, this is the first year where it's been a majority of all the first-time checkouts. And, a little bit disconcerting is the drop in physical materials has extended to even somewhat, not as profoundly, but towards children's materials as well. So children's has always been kind of like a bastion of library usage. Digital downloads for children are quite low, but that number is also growing. So, I think most of the traditional metrics that we use are encouraging people to read, right? We never said we cared specifically about books, we care about reading. Those numbers are trending up. There are some areas where you can see that the pace of increase outstrips just adding Novo and Gun Barrel. Program attendance, I think, is one. Wi-Fi usage is another. So we are seeing some different usages which don't necessarily track to a library card. You're not checking anything out. We don't know who you are if you're actually using the Wi-Fi. We don't necessarily take information on anybody who's using, you don't need a library card to attend a program. So there are some areas of the library that are growing. We refer to those as more passive uses of the library, use of the meeting room, use of the study room. Those don't require a library card to access. The use of the makerspace doesn't require a library card to access. So some of those growth areas, we need to discover more about those patrons. That is part of the plan, the community engagement thing, which we've talked about a little bit. Prior, the board had agreed that we wouldn't do a massive 4,000 person survey. This time around, not that a 4,000 person survey isn't valuable. That's what we did in 2018. We did a statistically valid survey last year as well, which shows strong support for the library and the values hold about public libraries are steady, high degree of trust, high importance of community and books and that kind of thing. But what we'll be really looking at in the community engagement phase of the plan is we are going to be doing some in-depth interviews. I'm hoping that board members will take part in some of those things. There will be opportunities if anybody is so interested to actually conduct some of the interviews as well and actually identify people who might be interviewed. We'll probably be doing between 70 and 100 in-depth interviews. We're also going to be doing intercept interviews in the process, and we will be interviewing on an intercept level a lot of the passive users, not type of people who are here frequently using a library without really necessarily talking to us or checking out books or doing that kind of thing. We're going to try to do some intercept surveys. That is why we hired the consultant. The consultant is training 12 or 15 staff members who will be doing some of those intercept surveys of users who are in the library. And then we will also be doing some focus groups. There will be a focus group for the board. I hope you will be able to attend when we identify the thing. There'll probably be notice coming out in June. And if you can participate in those focus groups, it'll be a joint focus group among the library board of trustees and the foundation board members. So again, some overlap. I think total number there is about 16 or 17 people. So I'm hoping we can get about 8 to 10 at least for that focus group. There will be several other focus groups among primary user bases, children and families. We talked about quite a lot, so we'll be looking at families and children. I think we're trying to identify a focus group for younger people, and then another one for power users, which kind of overlap with a lot of different demographic groups. That's kind of where we stand. I mean, we're right on pace. It's going fast. By the time I get back from vacation in June, I think most of the community engagement phase will be wrapping up. So we'll be spending most of June doing the community engagement phase. And by your August retreat, we'll be bringing back some of the findings that we have. You guys are off in July, but we'll be talking about some of those at the retreat, some of the findings that we're discovering from the interview process.
Wait, are we off in July or June?
June. You guys are off in June, yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah. So maybe as early as July, but definitely by August.
Okay.
And I'm happy to take any questions. An email will go out. Obviously, you are not obligated, at all to do interviews. I got the sense from previous meetings that there might be some of you that were interested in participating at a higher level. And so there would be, there's a broad outline of questions that we're trying to get more information on. You would have some flexibility within that, and certainly flexibility about who you want to interview. Yes, please.
So a couple questions. One, on page 9, the leadership cohort's currently identifying prospective community members participate. So what will that process look like? Yeah,
so we have a leadership cohort. It's staff who are not current. There's some of them in management positions, not all of them in the leadership team positions. So there's a leadership sphere cohort that actually Libby and Sydney are coordinating. And we have asked each of them to identify 10 members of the public that they know to be, whether they're library users or not, to be participants in the interview. There's another list of stakeholders that we've used. Some of we've used in the past, some are former board members, some are just members of the community. I think that list is about 45 people, and they'll draw from that list as well.
Can we make sure that we have geographic diversity, just because we're our district boundaries, and just make sure that we have we're covering like all parts of
district?
I know the list that I shared had a number of people who were in the unincorporated areas, because that was a list of some of the contacts that I had.
And then, I think in the minutes, back to those minutes, there was a reference that you made about attendance and that our attendance is greater than the recreation centers combined or something like that.
Yeah, so our
Say more
numbers.
about that.
Yeah,
Just
so.
because I was hearing you say that about numbers and being
Well,
down and all
they're
that.
two different things, right?
Okay.
Like, so, the library's free and open every month. Our door count, right now is about 850,000. The combined, attendance at the rec centers, I believe, is around 300,000. So, almost 3 times the amount of the combined rec centers. That doesn't include, the lake reservoir, Boulder Reservoir. But the reservoir does draw in probably another 100 to 125,000.
Okay. Thank you.
What about, I guess one thing, if you want, I don't know how this engagement with the trustees will happen. But I get an email and then people can respond if they want. Okay. I was gonna say, we just need to make sure.
I don't, it's probably not gonna be just like an open request as if like it's a board meeting, right?
Yeah.
So it will be a set couple of dates from which you may be able to choose from.
Okay.
And then I think we'll take the focus group where the most people can go.
Okay.
And I don't believe we have it in mind to try to work around 14 or 15 people's schedule. It's to see who's available to do a focus group. There will be other opportunities, obviously, if you wanted to do an interview, we can arrange that as well. If you're on it.
And David, is this going to be online or is this going to be in person?
I mean, ideally, I think it would be in person, but I think we are doing a lot of interviews virtually. The focus group, I think, ideally would be an in-person focus group. Although the consultant has done online focus groups.
Yeah, no, they're pretty common now.
The other question I have is about just, I don't know how much in the strategic plan we want to engage with city staff or county, like maybe city manager or Claire. I don't know how much input they could give to, and they might provide a different perspective on than like numbers and stuff that they, want to see. But just so that I guess my point is that we're aligning our strategic plan, or at least with input from the city.
There are several city council members and certainly county commissioners that are on the list of prospective interviews.
Okay.
Whether they choose to be interviewed or not is up to them. They're not going to force it.
I mean, we could always just specifically, Sylvia could specifically ask them, please do it, or forever hold your peace. That's all.
Yeah, no, we'll try to get, a number of stakeholders to do the interviews. I don't want, since we're not doing a survey of 4,000 people and we're doing, roughly 100 in-depth interviews, I don't want it to be 40 people that are elected officials.
No,
I think in order to get a representative sample, we need to have some.
I meant like 2.
And I think, we do have a number of them that are on the list of prospective interviewees. And I think some of them will gladly do it. I think they're library supporters. They want to have a say of offerings and information or ideas about what directions the library will go. Any other questions about at this point?
Okay,
Yeah, thank you.
now we move on to the voluntary recognition memo.
Yeah, so I put together this memo. I think it's self-explanatory. We've been at this for 7 months. I'm not sure that there are any questions left to be answered. We've had a lot of really great feedback from staff, from the community, from the attorneys that you chose. I feel like the board has had ample opportunity to talk about it. So my recommendation is that you voluntarily recognize the ASME union at this point, so that the real work can begin and we can negotiate a contract.
Doug, did you want to?
rather
Yeah,
than put it now?
Yeah, or after,
Okay.
yeah, we can do our vote.
Andy?
So, a couple of tactical points here, David. I think technically we've only retained our attorney through this part of the process. Would you be looking for us to retain their services to continue through the negotiation? Do you not feel that's necessary at this time? Do you want to go find a different attorney? Have you thought about that?
We have thought about it. It's my preference that we begin negotiations without attorneys, without an attorney on our side. Should we find that Ashley and the staff would like to have an attorney present, we may decide at that point to also add an attorney to the list, but I don't know that, I think we kind of know the parameters of what things are to be negotiated, and I'd rather give it a shot between the staff and a staff management negotiating committee. You know, we obviously can revisit it. I think a lot of the discussion that the board had around what things we might do if we reach an impasse, I think are helpful. And I think my personal opinion is I think we should avail ourselves of some neutral party input into the process if that's necessary before we actually. I appreciate all the lawyers, I really do. I love that we have a bunch of them on our board. It's been extraordinarily helpful for us all along the way. Only two now, it's shocking. Yeah, they're dwindling.
We're outnumbered.
But I do think there is, I just don't want it to be an impediment to actually having a open and honest conversation about what it is we want.
That's cool.
And then I think my one other question, David, is what do you kind of see as the process for keeping the board up to date as negotiations progress? Is this the kind of thing where like we would not expect to hear back until there's a negotiated contract that we're being asked to ratify, or would you kind of expect some other checkpoints in there?
I think there will be other checkpoints along the way, but ideally, right, we're only really back when there's a contract in place. I don't want to presume what negotiations are going to be like. My assumption that is going to be a lot of hard work, and I don't have any clue about the timeline or anything like that. So there may in fact be check-ins. I certainly expect the board will be saying like at almost every meeting how are negotiations going, and we'll provide updates as the board requests. But ideally, the next action that the board would have would be on a contract.
I think that's fair. I think the only thing I would caution is if we're getting into anything contract negotiations that you don't feel confident the board would support, it would be better for us to hear about that sooner rather than later, because I think we want to avoid the situation where you go through all the negotiations and then wind up with a contract that the board's unwilling to actually ratify. So I mean, I don't think that's a likely outcome, but I think it's worth just making sure we're staying ahead of it.
And I believe it's Doug's intent, depending upon your action tonight, to state some basic parameters, which he's hopeful that we will follow through in negotiations.
Yeah, I mean, good.
Well, Sylvia.
Anita.
I want to be recognized, right?
Sorry.
Sure.
I mean, see, it's gonna be a transition.
We're gonna have
thing, as I'm gonna have to sit at the
You
end.
just have to do this vote with a little time,
Yeah.
I wonder if the board would agree to, just in this first year, maybe a standing agenda item, you know, and an expectation that we'd have an update from David at every meeting related to the status and what's happening. If the board would
Could be,
agree with that.
yeah, it could be short and sweet, or it could be
Yeah.
not, yeah, okay, that sounds good.
I mean, the initial steps will be working out the logistics, right, Andy? And I think part of that will be we need to find out what it is, how they want to do the negotiations, and work out a time schedule when people can meet. You know, finding out if we're going to get a list of demands up front, or how it's going to work. We don't have any insight. I don't have any insight into that right now, and so I think part of it will just be getting those first initial meetings set up. So that'll probably be, I don't know, I'm thinking the part of the summer, right? We'll be getting all those logistics worked out so we can actually sit down and start hammering out language.
Okay, anything else? Are we ready to make a motion?
I'll move to voluntarily recognize ASME as, what is the official word, language you want to say?
I
As our-
liked what it said.
Oh, yeah.
And commencement.
Yeah.
I liked.
Okay, yeah, I knew we had some. Voluntarily recognize that Boulder Public Libraries District employees ASME union as their union and commence collective bargaining consistent with our Boulder Library District policy. At the earliest convenience, I'll move that motion.
Second.
Second.
Okay.
All right, all in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? Nope. That's it, motion passes.
All right.
Recognize.
Well done.
No champagne? Okay.
All right.
All right, I guess my other, as I don't know what's gonna happen, as you move forward, but it is, our budget is constrained this year. Hopefully ASME can go to our state legislatures and get our $1 million in tax revenue back from their 2024 tax decrease. But we need to keep, within the budget parameters that we've set as a board, or that we've tentatively reboot as those buckets of like 60% on staffing, salary and benefits, non-personnel books and subscription services at 25%, contract services between 5 and 10%, capital funding we'd like to get between 5 and 10% as we, at least I would, as we keep, just to keep the library in a healthy position as we move forward. I think we have plenty of room in there for everything that we currently have, so hopefully, but it is tight and we gotta keep it tight. So, and we also look, hopefully to the staff to help find additional savings, for the library. So, that's it.
Great. Anyone else?
Yeah, can I say something here? I just want to acknowledge, for the minutes at least, the good faith effort of both the staff and the board over the last 6 months to get to this place. It was really a collaboration in many ways. And it is not an experience in many situations, whether it's labor management, labor anything, or just community engagement. And I think we modeled that, and I think we should be proud of that. And I just want to say that.
Okay, moving forward.
I was just going to echo Tom's point as well. I think we all kind of watched the Jeffco situation as an example of where we would not like to wind up in terms of a year-plus long negotiation effort. I think we have done a lot of work to kind of lay the groundwork of what we could agree to and kind of where there's room for compromise and negotiation. So I hope that sets us up for a successful negotiation here. I would say, obviously, we don't control the timing here completely, but it would be great to get to the point where we can actually arrive at a contract prior to us entering the budgeting cycle for the next fiscal year, because it would be useful information to have as we are starting to budget for 2027. So I'm hopeful. I appreciate everyone's good faith effort here. I think I would just ask that we continue that good faith effort forward. The complicated part starts now. Everything we've done up to this point was really the easy bit. So I've appreciated all the engagement, but I think the hard work's in front of us. David, you'll have your work cut out for you, and I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes.
Great.
Thanks, Andy.
Okay, well, it feels like we're quickly done with that. So let's move on to the next item, which is the continuity of operations procedure.
So I have a whole team of people here to do it. Amy, Libby, and Andres. So Andres Menendez, the head of facilities, Amy's Shum is the head of IT, and Libby Turner is our head of HR. Cindy, are you presenting on this thing?
She's on the team.
I'm on the team, but
And Cindy McCoy, who's the director of public services. So the team will do a presentation. Take it away.
Actually, Celia, can you share, it wasn't allowing me to have my presenter notes, so I just wanna have those.
So a better experience that way.
So I sent it to you in Teams if that's helpful.
So while we're waiting, a lot of this came up as the board, as we experienced 2 Excel shutdowns. We have done continuous operation plans before. I think probably the most effective was the one we did like 2 months before the pandemic happened, which we imagined a catastrophe in which the libraries had to shut down.
You
And
were
it was-
responsible then.
It was just good timing. But yeah, so we were like when the announcement came at like 2 p.m. that everything was closing at 4, we had a plan in place. So they are useful and effective. This one we're trying to address some of the energy solutions. There's a lot of stuff that we still don't know. I mean, I don't think the board will see that before we're done. Like there's a lot of work that we still have to do to better understand Excel, and then second, primarily, then what is our role from the Office of Emergency Management, which is a state-mandated, county-wide organization that kind of dictates what we actually do in an emergency. But are we ready?
Right.
You're good.
All right. So just first, I'm going to be abbreviating this because continuity of operations plan is a bit of a mouthful. So you'll hear me say COOP. That's what I mean. It's fun to say. Rhymes with a lot of things. So I kind of enjoy saying it. For those new to COOPs, what they are is a predetermined set of instructions and procedures that organizations, particularly government agencies, use to ensure that essential functions continue during a wide range of emergencies or disruptions. That essential functions is a pretty critical component of this because it's not everything we do. It's the essential parts of what we do. So they allow for essential services to be maintained or restored quickly and give everyone guidance on what to do. So that's what we're going to be talking about. If you can go to the next slide, please. Thank you. I'm providing you an informational overview of the following per your request earlier this year, along with options and cost estimates for capital improvements, and an overview of the safety training for staff. We'll talk kind of at the end of kind of like our conclusions and whatnot, but we don't anticipate a ton of immediate action needed. Let's see. I can go to the next. Thanks. Previously, we had a COOP under the city, as David mentioned, as well as protocols on essential functions when under the COOP. So we reviewed that as part of this process. A lot of it was a little bit out of date. Services, buildings, people have changed, so it was time to update that. David already introduced us, so the COOP team that's kind of in charge of all of this is head of public services, head of IT, head of facilities, and head of HR, myself. David serves as the activation point for the COOP, and the COOP team is here in case you have any questions, so chime in on that. Our goals with the COOP are simple. Protect patrons and staff, sustain essential functions, restore services as soon as possible, and capture lessons learned after the fact. The COOP now has more relevant information and scenarios that include what we've experienced, particularly in the case of the thing that I like to say, the pss, whatever that was, back in December. The COOP defines, you'll see it every time you see that acronym now. Yeah. But the COOP defines the group responsible for coordinating and activating the scenarios, us and David, as well as other responsibilities, decision-making, financial decisions. It goes into a lot of those types of protocols. The COOP also includes critical contacts, alternate worksite information, and communication best practices for both patrons and staff. And that's something that we've really dialed in over the last 6 months. The COOP essential functions focus on what we do in response to the activation, how and what essential services to maintain, and what we dial back, because we won't be able to do everything, like in most cases. In addition to the COOP, we have many other resources that help protect staff and patron safety, but also ensure continuity of service. So conducting annual safety trainings for active events, that's the Run, Hike, Fight protocol, bloodborne pathogens, first aid, and cybersecurity. So we're going to be rolling those out over the summer. The emergency flip book, I have a prop. So I'll hand this around. Thank you. Are able to help help staff handle emergencies as they happen. And then the COOP is what happens afterwards. So immediate after. We also have many patron-facing rules, policies, and protocols that help with the continuity of services in the face of disruptive behavior in patrons. I'm sure our team here could go on and on about the different things that we have in place there. Just wanted to give you a sense of some recently completed projects since we became a district. A lot of these have to do with the collaboration between facilities and IT. They're wonderful people here. So security cameras at all locations, door access and control upgrades, so fail lock, exits, alarms at main, building automation systems, so FAS, if you see it in acronym form, and HVAC upgrades for improved monitoring and response. I'm sure Andres could go on and on about all the things that he has done there. Installation of the Halo, those are the vape detectors in the bathroom stalls and safety sensors in public restrooms, primarily at Main and the new branches that we've opened, Novo and Gun Barrel. And then up-to-date fire building and elevator inspections.
How are the vape detectors working? Pretty good still?
Yeah.
Yeah. Seems like that's been a big issue.
It's not been a big issue.
I'm curious, so of all of the different trainings and resources, and I hate to ask this, but I just am curious, do we have like active shooter as part of that?
So that's what that is.
Okay.
Run height.
So active event is, it
Okay.
follows a run height fight protocol.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay. Some investments that we've made over the past few years include remote work policies and tool investments. Obviously, COVID had a lot to do with kind of figuring out the infrastructure of work remote and tool investments. So we have Teams, we have Zoom, we have secure VPN to make sure that things are safe even when we're not in the building. Cloud storage, things like that. 80% of our staff currently have laptops, and the rest of staff have access to share laptops for remote work. So it's easy enough for us to pivot. We've realigned, as you well know, security service to meet business needs. And then David mentioned actually the leadership cohort earlier that is partially leadership and partially succession planning for continuity of operations should somebody in the leadership team leave. The piece that you guys had asked us to dive into was options for unfunded investments. So as the COOP team includes Amy, IT, facilities, Andres, they've provided us with capital options that could enhance the continuity of services. They're big investments and they require a lot more research, to be totally honest. So these are just options that would need to be dialed in further to better estimate cost, impact, and actual necessity. The items identified from IT are here, and then we'll go over facilities in the next slide. So the first one is moving the head end to ensure great continuity of internet. I sound like I know what I'm talking about, but I don't truly. So questions will go to Amy here, but basically that allows us greater continuity of internet, or not both, a new second head end that would allow for continuity throughout all buildings. I'm gonna pause here for questions.
Lisa and then Benita.
That's a big range, 25 to 150. So what is the difference there?
Sure. So we've been looking at lots of options from the cheapest to we have all the money in the world. How could we set up a premium system? And the 25,000 is if we were just to move our head in. Right now it's here at the main north building, which is susceptible to power outages. If we were just to move that infrastructure out. If we move it someplace, say like the city's public safety building, which we're investigating, the 25,000 would just cover costs of moving that infrastructure. However, there are some barriers there. There is security clearance because it's a public safety building, it's the police department, as well as the city's data center. And so there are some security clearances we would need to work out. Or we could move the head into one of the other branches. So Novo, Gun Barrel, they don't have the construction costs for that. So lowest, cheapest would be moving our head in from here into the public safety building of the city. Most expensive, we build a second head in and we put it in another building. So we're duplicating everything that we have here at the main library in another facility. So we have all the hardware, software, licensing, construction costs. So that's why it's such a huge range.
So one of my questions had to do with location, you answered that, but the other one is just, what's the dimension of a network head end? Like,
sure.
How big, how fat?
How big? That's a great question. It's not very big, depending on how much we want to move. If I were to take you on a tour up to our network closet up on the second floor, we have 2 racks. One rack is quite full. The second rack has our security camera servers. We wouldn't duplicate those. We would just consider that a loss in the event of a power outage. But our internet is there primary through the city of Boulder, our secondary through Comcast. Everything goes into that network closet on the second floor. So if we were to move it into, say, the public safety building, it wouldn't actually take up that much space. We're going to need to do more research to find out how much space. When you're talking about racks, they refer to each unit as a U. And so I don't know how many U's we would need to either lease from the city or figure out an arrangement where we could move into public safety. But it's not that much. Honestly, I think we could fit most of it into the North Boulder IT closet because we have 2 large racks in there. The problem with that is we don't have very good ventilation in that room. And so we would have to invest in some cooling.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thanks.
Okay, Andy?
Yeah, Amy, I just want to see if I'm understanding the end goal of these projects where we were to pursue them. So right now, the issue we have is when the North Building power goes down, we effectively lose internet access across all of our buildings because the internet's piped through there. Other buildings have power. Is that an accurate assessment?
It is accurate. It comes into the main library and it's on a ring. And so if you can imagine what main north goes out, everybody goes out.
Okay, so the relocation of the network head end here would effectively be trying to put it in a location where we thought we had better power resiliency such that we would not necessarily bring down all branches when the North Building goes down. Yes?
That is correct, yes.
Okay, and then the second option here would be going a step beyond that and would basically give us just full redundancy here. So we'd have to have 2 locations that went down in order for us to lose internet across the network. Is that accurate?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Doug?
And the public safety building, I'm assuming, has backup power.
Yeah, that's one of the advantages of going into that building is it's already got generators and backup power because it's the city's data center. Mm-hmm. So we wouldn't have to invest in what Andres will talk about with the solar energy batteries and things like that, or generators to keep the power going for the racks.
The city thinks, have we talked to the city?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, they need to know how much space we need. And like I said, we also have to talk about the security clearance because we would need to get into that space and those are things we have to work out. So. And I also want to mention that most of this is reimbursable by our E-rate. So that's the good news. But I want to remind everybody that we have 705,000 E-rate reimbursable funds over 5 years. So if you take out 270,000 of that, that's just less we have for other E-rate eligible network equipment over the next 5 years.
So just practically, so there's options on this slide and then on the next slide when we get to facilities are we looking at, you're going to do more research and then come back with a definitive proposal? Because we're not being asked to approve anything right now. Is that?
We were asked to put numbers together for you guys. Yeah.
Yeah, there isn't necessarily any immediate action. This is more informational.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions? Okay, cool. Next slide, please. Okay. The items identified from facilities are here. So solar and battery backup systems to allow backup during outage operations. Another option identified was a backup variable refrigerant flow HVAC system, which is hard to say, that would allow for more efficient, easy to use use in high traffic or high touch scenarios. I'm gonna pause again for questions if there are.
I have one question. So is this like to be a cooling center, or I mean like the HVAC systems?
No, the VRF system, it's not surprise for anyone that we have HVAC issues in this building, right?
Okay.
And sometimes it's too hot or too cold. It's like we lose people. Like if it's too cold, people are not here. A VRF system, it's kind of the top of the line, the new HVAC. It's actually what we have at Novo. This allows to an installation on high traffic areas like the children's area, the cafe. The rest, those are critical areas that or get too cold or get too hot during events. Like the main building, the south building, keeps the temperature pretty good. When we lose power, I'm usually here, and it keeps the temperature pretty good. But these other areas that probably are the more used for patrons are critical. So with a VRF system, that if our system goes down, where is it like walk, the south building knows, or basement, half of the basement is just a massive HVAC unit. It's only one unit for the whole building. When that thing goes down, we don't have anything. We don't have anything to back up. These type of units, they don't use ductwork, or it's a pretty simple installation because we don't have to do as much construction. But we can operate areas separate, so we can, if we can keep cool or warm the children's area, the cafe, and maybe some areas in the second floor, if we lose our system, or main HVAC system, the building will feel pretty much the same. Also, it will be a backup when our system is not enough to do it. Like this system can kick on and keep those areas pretty comfortable. So that's kind of why the recommendation on that equipment. It's a significant invest, but something that like just evaluating the building that we have and the space that we have, this is a really nice option.
Thanks. Andy?
A couple of questions here. I'll start with the HVAC one since that's what we were just on. So it sounds to me like this would be a system that this is not merely providing backup in something like a power outage. I mean, presumably this wouldn't even work in a power outage because we need power to operate it. This is more about providing backup if our existing HVAC system fails, or providing additional capacity in systems where our current system is inadequate. Is that correct?
Exactly, yeah.
Okay. And then on the solar and battery backup systems, I guess two questions here. One, I assume the large range, 100K to 700K, is that based upon the scale of the system, the number of branches we do? What's kind of the difference between the low end and the high end of that range?
Like it's so, there's so many things we can add, or how like the range of how simple or how complicated we want to make this has a big range. If we want to operate just our server room with batteries, it's a pretty straightforward investment. If we want to operate some of the HVAC and some areas at the main library, elevators running, and some things, like that number goes up. And if you want to operate as normal, that wouldn't happen. But if you want to run the whole building, it will be a big investment. Also, it will depend on how much space are we willing to sacrifice for this installation. So it's a big range because there's a bunch of options that we can investigate and go deep. It's more to we need to define what we want and what's critical for us, and define a better, more exact investment of what we need.
And then one last one here. Is this a situation where with the solar battery backup, does this ultimately lower our utility costs? And if the answer is no more research is needed, that's fine. But I'm curious, I guess, is like, is this first item here something that might ultimately pay for itself in utility cost decreases because we'd be generating additional solar, or we'd be doing rate arbitrage with the batteries? Or is this something where like it's just a net cost and we wouldn't really expect to see any corresponding utility savings from the investment?
It has the potential to have some return. I don't see it as a motivation to go through it because the capacity of solar panels that we have right now covers around 30% of the consumption of the building. So trying to translate that into that the batteries will run the building into where we have the high rate of electrical bill, like it has to be an investment probably too big to, we will need too much capacity of saving just to get to that point, and maybe it won't be necessary or attractive to us. So it's more on what we can accomplish on the continuity of operations more than how much we can save.
Okay, so this does not pay for itself, I guess is the way I should interpret that.
Probably not.
Great, thank you.
Lisa? Sorry, remind me of your name again.
Andres.
Andres, okay, so accent on the back side, Andres.
Mm-hmm.
All right, noted. So the current HVAC system, how long of a life does it have where we have to make a decision to do something big here?
Well, it's like with our HVAC system, what we have, it's pretty much what it is. Like how to upgrade our system, it's just a couple things that we can do. The system is built into the building. It's made to run pretty well, but we depend only on it. We have done big investments on like bringing it to run the best way possible. We invested on the controllers. That was a big issue. So the system wasn't working efficiently. Hopefully this will be a project that will finish this year, and we'll have the opportunity to see this building running on HVAC as it's supposed to. Thing that I believe has never been seen or accomplished. So like we don't know how good or how deficient our system is because the way it was installed and run. So we're trying to fix all those issues. We still have more things to go. Yeah, like we're pretty much set on what we need for our equipment to run. There's not much investments, more upgrades, replacement of a couple equipment that are kind of at the end of their lifespan, like the boilers. I'm taking like trying to like raise my boiler flag.
Yeah, so so it's a great question, and the HVAC here is a glorified swamp cooling. That's exactly what it is. It's an evaporative cooling system. It was very innovative at the time they put it in 1992. It's unclear to us currently if it's going to work in the new environment in which we live. Like, so humidity has been higher in Colorado in the last 4 or 5 years than it was really over the last decade. The heat is hotter. We don't know if the evaporative cooling system is really adequate. So that's part of the cooling problem, and that's why the supplemental air conditioning, or whatever we call it, the backup VRF system may be something that we have to consider sooner rather than later, because we need to give it a shot, right? So we've just now gotten to the point where we understand the controls, and we probably need 6 months or a year's worth of data to say, like, is it working or not? Is it capable of doing work? I think we have suspicions that it is not capable of doing work, but we don't know that for a fact, and so we'll have to see. I mean, that may be an expense you guys have to bear at some point to work putting in a supplemental VRF system to legally cool essentially what the 1974 building was. It's the children's area, the teen area above it, and the cafe, which are the 1974 building. And it's not clear that they really ever thought too terribly much about how they were going to heat and cool that. The boilers are over 30 years old. They have a 20-year lifespan. And we'll have to consider replacement at some time. That is one of the reasons why, and I know Doug understands this because he was on the facilities committee when we were reforming the district in the first place. We need to be investing money in the buildings. They were handed to us in not optimal condition. They are continuing to fail. They are failing at a rate higher than what we, it's just what happens. You get an old car and it's like, eventually, like, things start to fall apart at a more rapid rate. And we are going to see that if we are not able to put capital money aside to address issues like a boiler that goes. Reynolds is also with boilers in the basement, and it's not an evaporative cooling system, it's forced air. We have the VRF system at Novo. It's not cheap. I mean, VRF system it's efficient use of energy, but it's not inexpensive.
So, just a comment first. I think the idea with this is, because we asked for this, if I remember correctly. I don't know if we need to make total decisions tonight, but it will I think it's going to feed into our retreat, right?
And budget.
And budget. And then the other piece is on the HVAC system. So if we put this backup or supplemental HVAC system in, and we still have the old system, I guess we think those things we'll be committed to that other system as well, with this backup. I guess what I'm saying is why not like a holistic system or.
Then you're talking about a lot more money.
Well, I get that, but maybe it's $200,000 more or something. Like, I don't know if there's a holistic system. I guess that's my question is like.
I think that's a question.
That means 650 would be like probably 60% of what we spend on capital projects, or maybe, if we spend $2 million, then it'd be whatever that is, but 25%.
You're absolutely right.
See what I mean?
If they break in the middle of the winter, then we're going to be forced to buy, or break in the middle of the summer. We're either going to be forced to close or to expend money from reserves. That's why we probably need to do a better plan for how, and we don't have the money this year, right? We do not have the money in the budget to invest in maintaining the buildings. We need to be able to start carving that money out.
Yeah, I guess my comment would be then is like, look at the whole system. Is this make sense in that,
That's exactly right. And that's what comes into mind with the continuity of operations and keeping power on in the event of an Excel shortage, or actually keeping the internet going, right? Like, so Monday last week, we had 3 roofs leaking, 3 different buildings with roofs leaking, right? Like, there's a lot of things we have to address in order of priority. What are the things that are going to make the building habitable? And is internet provision absolutely essential in the event of a 6-hour outage? That is a question we have to answer. I know it sounds like a great idea, putting a second head in, having redundancy around internet provision. It's a lot of what we do. A lot of the work that happens in the building requires the internet. But frankly, so does not having a leaking roof. And so, like, there are priorities that we have to line up. And as much as you may think like, wow, let's do a second head in, we're going to get a reimbursement from E-rate, it's probably going to cut into our money for our ability to do something else down the road, as Amy was saying. It's a limited bucket, and there are a lot of other priorities. Leaking roofs, 35-year-old boilers. So we need to set some priorities and start to address some of these shortfalls. And it could be the case. We'll part of the strategic plan is getting our money right? So that is an underlying subtext of the entire strategic plan. We have to get our money right. Part of it is addressing this facilities capital needs around facilities. And frankly, I'm hoping that we, over the course of the next 2 to 3 years, we can figure out, are some of these buildings unsustainable? And in which case, do we need to be thinking of a major capital program, putting money into either totally redoing them from scratch, totally redoing the HVAC system here. It sounds like a nightmare. I mean, it is in 1992, I mean, everybody that comes and sees it is really impressed with a gigantic swamp cooler. It's pretty impressive. It's an amazing feat of engineering. I don't know that anybody's seen such a large building that's cooled by a gigantic swamp cooler as this one. It's an energy efficient way. It requires drawing of air. As we experience wildfires, it's also less sensible because we have to shut it all down if there's a fire, there's smoke in here. So there's a lot of things we have to consider.
Yeah. I appreciate that we're trying to come up with a plan now as opposed to being reactive when things are happening. So hopefully we'll be able to kind of continue in that vein.
Okay. Great. I just have one final slide. So, we definitely have more work to do. I think that's pretty much the subtext of what we were all just saying. So the COOP team is meeting regularly to discuss and dial these plans in, as well as see how they fit into the larger Boulder County emergency and continuity plans. We were just reading over a bunch of their power resiliency things, and there's what a whole can of worms that is. So we'll continue to work closely with L team to brief them on changes. As we go into our budget cycle, we will need to consider the actual need and value in investing in the options that we presented tonight. That's what David was saying. So there's really nothing to decide right now. This is just good information for us to have. And we'll have to figure out what the needs are as they relate to other capital and maintenance and investments. So yeah, any other final questions?
Andy has another question.
I'll chime in quickly. I chimed in a lot already, but I just want to say thank you for pulling this together. I think I was one of the folks who originally asked to start to look at some of these numbers. So thanks for doing the groundwork here. I do think ultimately for the trustees, this turns into a discussion at our retreat. And I think this is really a continuation of a discussion we've had bits and spurts of in the past, which is how much do we want to view the library as a component of kind of community resiliency? And what does that mean for the library's ability to provide services like internet or power or charging when the wider community is having events like an extended power outage? David's point's well taken. Like, we have a lot of more immediate things we have to weigh against that as well. But I do think it'll be interesting for us to start to weigh some of this stuff and think about this at our retreat, and really start to think more generally about what do we view the role of the library as being from a community resiliency standpoint, which isn't the lens we always view the library through, but I think it is an increasingly important one in which we will operate.
Thanks. Okay.
I have one more comment.
Mm-hmm.
I would expect, at the retreat, at least specific projects on a list of projects. I don't know if Jim is on, but like that would probably make us be able to focus and prioritize which projects are better. So like when you come, we've talked about this another time, but if like the power stuff is interesting to me, but I don't know, I kind of need you guys to tell us if you think keeping one power on is better than another. So, I'd prefer you not pick on the $700,000 end. Yeah. But you know what I mean? So and so I think that would be helpful for us.
And Andy's absolutely right. We need guidance from OEM. 4 of our libraries are adjacent to areas with high risk for wildfire. 2 of our libraries are adjacent to high risk of flood. And so, OEM has not necessarily pointed to the library as a place where it's a great place for people to go. But nevertheless, like almost every single grant you apply for these days, they want to know what your resiliency of your building is, how your building is going to become a resilient building. So we have to be able to address that issue, I think. And it is a matter of scale, right? So are we talking about being able to provide a place where people can come in and charge their phones and devices and their cars for 6 hours or 8 hours or 12 hours during an outage? Or are we talking about if power is lost for 3 days and there's an evacuation or something like that, the library is a place to go. So we have to place that scale for you guys so there's a better way of making the understanding. And honestly, I think for some of that stuff, we don't know the answers.
Okay. Director updates?
Yeah, really quickly, you guys, you're being very polite. You don't have to sit here through all the whole thing. Congratulations, everybody.
Thank you.
Yeah, super awesome. But
Only two more
Now we're
hours.
talking about audits and election items, so.
No, you guys have to come to every meeting.
Some of us, don't worry. I saw.
Yes.
John, get my $1 million. Go get my $1 million.
Thank you.
Take care of it.
So the audit is well underway, we've gotten all the materials to them. What I have to remind you every year is, I know they've reached out to a couple board members, I don't think they reached out to everyone.
Did they reach out to a couple board members?
They reached out to me.
Okay.
And I think they may have reached out to Karen. They're probably gonna reach out to you next year because you'll be on the finance committee. But in any case, so we don't know of any alarming details in the audit. Every year there are some things that we have to improve on. The question has come up about, do they give us the opportunity to make the changes right away? Yes, of course they do. And I know that Adriana had made some small fix that was at the request of the auditor. She did last year as well. I don't know of any material, cost material wise, things that we're gonna have to change for this year, but I haven't seen the final audit and I won't see it before you do. They will submit it to the state on time, which will happen before your next board meeting. So the auditors do submit the thing on the date that it's required. I can't remember exactly what date that is.
July 31st.
Oh, it's July 31st. So you will have a chance to see it. You'll have a chance to see it before they actually submit it. That's great. Last year, I think they submitted it prior to you actually having a chance to see it. You did,
Yeah.
prior to submitting. Okay. So it's all well underway. Then the ballot item, a little bit of information here. I know you guys, we've talked about this for a couple of months now. Just about the consideration as to whether or not you want to go to ballot. I'm not looking for a decision tonight. This was your issue. We did follow up with some information, some language. I did talk to a lot of library directors around the state and specifically to Chapin County, who had a successful ballot item last year on re-debrucing. But I'm happy to take any questions, or really this is an opportunity for you all to discuss. I think there was several questions about, do you even wish to go on ballot? And if so, what's the time? Yes.
Yeah. So I was just reading through this and I just wondered then what would be our time?
Hey, I'm sorry. Do you guys mind shutting that door?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Does it, so is this, so if we're not meeting in June? We're not meeting in June.
So your deadline for making a decision would be your July meeting.
Yeah.
Now, you would have to decide by July meeting if you intended to go on the ballot for 2026, because you would then instruct
Yes.
Senator
Yeah, that's what I
Daniel
was
on
like
the
trying to just remember the timing, but it could be that maybe we would have to meet in June to discuss this. I wondered, so I sit on the Colorado Association of Libraries Legislative Committee, and I just haven't, nobody's talked about this. And
Yeah,
so I wondered about getting it on their agenda to just hear from them, you know, as it relates to like statewide, what anybody's doing or thinking about this. And I
yeah.
mean, I hear you saying you've had these separate conversations, but that would be a group that I guess, you know, they pay attention to, you know, the legislative, you know, temperature of the state in a sense. And, you know, I would want to have that conversation with them.
Yeah, I did talk to the state library last week, and so we had the directors conference last week.
But not the CAL,
Not the Cal Legislative Committee, no.
or CAL as an organization, association, yeah. But that's what I'm
How
talking
would
about.
they, what kind of input do you think they would help with? What is that
Well, I
organization?
think they pay attention to legislation,
Okay.
right, and what's going on, you know, statewide and just, you know, and the conversations they have with legislators and, you know.
Are they meeting like sometime soon? The
Yeah,
legislature?
so I mean, the committee meets like the first Friday of every month, so.
Could you ask if they're?
Yeah, that's what I was just saying, like, I just wanted to bring it
Yeah.
up to the agenda to just ask about it. And then the other thing is like, it's, maybe semantics, but I've heard that using Bruce, like D Bruce, isn't appropriate anymore. Like, yeah,
It's not.
but I don't know what it is.
He deserves it.
I don't know.
Didn't he die? I don't know. Is he alive? I don't know.
I don't know if he's.
I don't know, but anyway, but
He's no longer heavily active.
No, but
Yeah,
there's like a whole generation of people who don't even know who we're talking about. Or,
Right.
Why is this? Why is it called D Bruce? Right.
Well, we did D-Bruce, right? So we
I
did
know,
D-Bruce
but
in 2022.
but we don't even.
And then, the sentiment among a lot of libraries, a lot of library directors, and a lot of boards have discussed this issue as well. They're really, I don't know how to characterize it other than it's wishful thinking. They wish that an entity larger than a library or a library district would decide to sue the legislature for overriding local law. That is really what they're wishing for. Most of the boards that reported at the directors meeting were nervous. We're not enthusiastic about going back in front of the voters and asking them to waive a limit that the legislature recently put on. And they do uniformly believe that the action of the legislature is, if not illegal, at least unethical. That the legislature decided to put a new cap on when voters had already decided to waive previous caps, that then that added a new, and that risk still is inherent, right? Like even if you were to go to the voters in 2026 and they would say we lift the cap, then the legislature could easily come back in 27 or 28 and say we reimpose a new cap that supersedes all local votes. And if that is going to be the pattern and shape of legislature, then that's very different than what historically has happened in Colorado, but it's not. It's happening now. And how long it will persist, I have no idea.
Andy?
Yeah, I mean, David got to one of the points I was going to make, which is it seems like the thing we're trying to balance here is if we do this sooner rather than later, we risk the legislator undoing it again before it has an effect. I don't think any of us are anticipating a greater than 5%, which I think is the current cap property value increase. Certainly not in the next year. It doesn't seem likely. Whether we would need it in the next couple of years, I mean, it's a little hard to predict what the economy is going to do in the future. But I do think this is one of those cases where, the sooner we do it, the sooner we're avoiding perhaps missing out on property value increase upside. The longer we wait to do it, the less likely we are to have to do it over again because the legislator. But personally, David, like I would happily see a number on what it would cost to sue the state. It seems like we might end up there one way or the other. I think we're just going to have to decide, and it sounds like we don't have to decide tonight. We have to decide by the July meeting whether we want to go on a ballot in a year where the economy is a little sensitive, probably for a lot of voters, but also it's an even year election, which generally favors us in these sorts of things. Whether we'd want to wait till next year where we have an odd year election, which is maybe less favorable, but perhaps the economy is doing better, or whether we want to wait till 2028. Where we don't really know what things are going to look like, and we also have more risk of missing out on property tax upside between now and then.
Well, another issue is the city and city council and what they may put on the ballot and how this may get a whole negative spin because of other priorities that the city is considering.
Yeah, I think they're probably going to put 2 or 3 tax measures on, and then I don't know about the county as well. I don't know about what they're going to put on, but he would be the last item on the ballot. Although it says, I think the language here is important without raising taxes.
Right.
But I do think it's better to go in a year where we're actually not raising property taxes than trying to play catch up, because you remember how everybody's being hysterical when their assessed values went way up. They're going to probably be like, no way, and so I think it would be better to go in a year where, like this year or next year, just this year, where people are seeing decreased assessment values because this rule isn't even going to cause an effect. And I mean,
if the choice is between 26 and 27, then 26 is when we should do it. Because 27 will be the first municipal election without council or something else to drive turnout, and so it will be a significant group of people who will be more sensitive to issues related to taxes than what we're going to see this fall. And I saw Kim's memo in the second ballot language, which I think is the one we would use, where we're very clear this isn't raising taxes. So my opinion is I think we should get ready to do this for this fall.
Well, it isn't raising taxes, it will raise people's taxes.
It could, potentially, yeah.
If the assessed value of your home goes above 5.2,
no, if the total revenue is increased more than 5.25%. So if your total revenue goes over 5.25%, so then you can't keep it. The first year this came into effect of the library district because that assessment went up a bunch. And so we took we took more than probably 5.5. At the time it was 5.5%. So they even lowered it. So we de-Bruced when we ran the ballot measure, and now they've re-Bruced us or whatever.
Right.
And so yeah, I think I too want to sue the legislature, Andy, but I don't want to pay for it. So is the lawyer on the call? Maybe they'll do it for free.
Yeah.
So pro bono.
Yeah.
Can we get in a consortium with other people?
Well, that's what I think.
Everybody pitching $100 and. Right. So, but yeah, I mean, I don't know what the legal case is, so it seems it seems illegal, but nobody's gotten brave enough to challenge it.
well, no large county has decided to do it.
Yeah.
That's discouraging, right?
Right.
It's not, like, they're also subject to the same limitations. And you would think if it was illegal, like the county of Denver and Boulder County, they got lost. Because they thought there was a good case.
It's hard to say. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, no, so do we just wanna like in July plan on just making the decision about whether to do it in 2026? Is that where everyone's at?
And maybe we can gather info and I'll report back on Cal and.
Yeah. Okay.
At that point, we'll try to figure out the cost of the election. So the only reason I put in the risk of the fact the legislature might do it again is that I don't think it's I think it's a good idea to go on the ballot in 2026. It's kind of like what Andy says, we have to be able to catch the wave when the wave occurs.
Yeah.
If we're waiting until the wave occurs and then go back to this, you're basically like you're out grabbing for money. We're asking for an issue of it's a righteous issue, right? Like the voters already said that we should be able to collect up to 3.5 mils, whatever those 3.5 mils were. The legislature artificially went in and put a cap on it in order to accommodate for the fact that Gallagher was overturned and they have no ability to control residential tax rates. But that was implicit in overturning Gallagher. Residential property tax rates were going to go up. And so now the legislature is trying to play around with it. And I just feel like we need to go back. We cannot withstand 8 years of a flat budget. It will be all of our village and all of our.
Andy and then Lisa.
I think one additional piece of information we should try to gather between now and July is we should take the temperature of the foundation on whether they have any interest to support a ballot initiative this year. As our lawyers will tell us, as soon as we make a decision to do this, we can no longer advocate for it as the library, we can do so in our individual capacities. In previous elections, the foundation provided the vast majority of the funding for our election efforts. So we would basically need outside volunteers and potentially the foundation's support. I don't know how much we would need to campaign here. Like if we think it's just going to pass regardless, maybe the answer is not very much. But I would say Tom, Doug, or me at this upcoming meeting, it would just be good for us to, and Chris, you're here as well, be good for us to like raise a quick item on the agenda just to like get a temperature check as to whether there's even any interest from them.
Okay, Lisa?
Yeah, I guess my question is, if the legislative body already reversed it, and it seems like it's the same legislative body, why would we assume that they wouldn't also again reverse it? Because nothing has changed on their side unless it has, and anybody could provide that information. That's the piece that I'm like, I absolutely get that we need it and that, you know, from a correct, right or wrong reason, we should be able to get something on the voters pass. But if we already got overturned, the timing is my question.
I can answer that too.
Okay.
So I think we're reacting to two legislative bills that were passed in 24 and 25. So they had huge assessments in those years, and the state of Colorado decided they passed the repeal of the Gallagher, and they decided to it shifts a little bit of the burden from commercial to residential, and then they also sort of reduced everybody's tax bill by changing the assessed value rate. So like, you know, your assessment, and then it's multiplied by 6.7% or 6.8, and then they lowered it to like 6.6, and now it's back to like 6.8. But they did a bunch of things to like fool around, and then part of that bill was this. So they used to have this 5.5% cap on if you didn't pass this debrucing measure, and then they reinstituted this other 5.25, and that's on the total revenue. So your total revenue can't increase by more than 5. It doesn't affect your individual home or whatever, but and so I think those two measures were brought because another group was threatening a ballot measure that would have been worse. This is how they said, we had to pass those because of these other terrible ballot measures that would have crippled the state. That's what they said. You can believe that or you not believe it. And so they passed that. And so I guess those were a confluence of things. I do think probably if we have years of, double-digit CAGR on property taxes, they probably will do something, but maybe we catch 1 or 2 years, and that might be good for us, or you catch 1 or 2 years where you can put a little money away or something like that. So they might do it again. But that's just the history. I think it probably won't happen again. That was a confluence of things. If they do have big property tax years, but I think right now everybody's screaming because they did that, because all the counties, all the fire districts, all that, they're screaming because they lost a lot of revenue.
So 2 things. One, I think about, when we were going through our budget process and there was the word related to layoffs, there was a lot of public comment that I heard related to, like, you don't have enough money, like, why would there be a layoff, and that kind of thing. And so I still remember too that vote, it wasn't this overwhelming vote in favor of the district establishment. And people are still very wary, and those that don't like the district as it's formed, are going to be our enemies here on this thing. And that was the one thing. And then 2, if folks are checking the temperature with the foundation or with others, I guess I'd wonder if we could also get a preference related to these 2 versions of the language, because I kind of like version 2 over 1, but I was hearing Tom say he was in favor of 1, but just with the sentiment of
No, I'm in favor of 2. I'm in favor of the language. It's just not raise taxes.
Okay.
Yeah, really clear.
Okay. So if we could also float that around just to get a sense so people would know what it is that would be on a ballot, I think that'd be helpful.
Yeah. Chris, I don't know if you wanted to chime in about the foundation question.
Yeah, I'll just say that our timing is good. I mean, we have our monthly board meeting next week. I meet with our executive committee to set that agenda tomorrow. I'll certainly raise this. It's like if this is an emergent off-cycle need this year before the annual grant process comes around next year, I'm sure we can work it out. If I were to read the tea leaves on like what the board would do, I think they would listen to the idea that we raise money for the library, and the more money the library has, the better. I mean, we've never wavered from that in 50 years of existing. So without getting ahead of the board, I think we're going to want to accommodate whatever it is you need here. That said, these things have a history of passing. They also have a history of being timed well. The county, for example, when it knows that years from now, like an open space tax is expiring, is famous for like picking, okay, well, I know this is 3 years out, but it's more advantageous. So that's why you're being asked without raising taxes. Do we not let this sunset and continue it? I mean, that happens all the time. So you're doing the right savvy set of thinking, do your research about those sorts of measures in Boulder County. They do tend to pass. And let us know. It's also going to be about studying, can we give the library money for a campaign? I think the answer is no. I think you have to like reactivate your library champions or something like that in order for us to have an entity to give to. And then maybe it's a conversation about, well, if you want us to cash flow this, then maybe we give you a little bit less than we've been planning in the annual grant process. Those are just some of the immediate thoughts I have, but I don't want you to feel dissuaded from the bigger picture, which is what is the politically expedient choice as far as best chance at the ballot box.
I'm guessing of the three of the library champions, they couldn't form a trustee couldn't form a campaign committee, right? Probably not. To advocate for a ballot measure, or it'd have to be non-trustees.
Yeah.
I think we actually could in our own independent capacity. We should get legal advice on that, but also like we all have this job already, so it would be nice if someone else did it.
Well, I'm just thinking about who did it last time, Andy. So like,
let me also say our highest best use is giving money for a campaign rather than operating a campaign.
No, I get that.
It's just the opportunity cost of raising all the other money we're trying to raise.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm certainly happy to sit on a campaign.
Right. Yeah.
I just don't think you want me to stop fundraising so that I can run your campaign.
No, I don't.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay, so then I think we agreed that it'll go, we'll visit this in July and make a decision in July.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, if there's nothing else on that, let's go to back to Chris, foundation update.
All right, well, that's a good segue. Let's see, we had a nice event that David attended in Jamestown, good awareness building about the foundation, a couple pages in Peak, where we had board members hosting essentially a house party, and hopefully this is a sign of more things like that to come. That's a great way, and I would invite Library District, certainly if you're representing, serving on the foundation, to look to this as a possible model for other awareness and fundraising. We're excited to welcome and sad to lose Andy. Thank you. I just want to publicly recognize you to this body, Andy, for everything that you've done. You and everybody. I mean, there's a lot of people that have helped out the foundation, but you're the one rotating off, and you have been a true example of what a working board member exemplifies. I can't tell you all the things, from our audit that it's always been a clean audit, but it was an audit with a long list of things for us to do on the governance side. And Andy just motivated and got so much stuff done. So thank you. And we're looking forward to you, Doug, and Tom joining. And of course, we get to keep Kara, which is great. Want to encourage people, the opening reception for Boulder Reads exhibit at 40 years, is being set up now, and it opens tomorrow at 5. If you can come to that or anytime during the next 2 weeks, this is something close, near and dear to the Boulder Library Foundation, which has been a funder in some sort every single year of its existence. And it really is central to the literacy mission, literacy for all. It's great. And then the Gala individual tickets, if anyone is interested in that, those will go on sale in the newsletter late next week, probably Thursday of next week. We've sold most of the tables. If you know people that want to organize, some of you have gotten in touch with me about a table. We still do have some of those available, but the individual tickets finally will go on sale. And then the last thing I wanted to mention, if you haven't seen it yet, speaking of the gala, we had Remarkably Bright Creatures author Shelby Van Pelt, and Sally Field does a tour de force performance in the Netflix that's out now. Yeah, do yourself a favor. It's a tearjerker. It's fun to see. If you attended the gala and you got it inside the book at our event, now you can see it in a really, really high quality Hollywood production.
I haven't watched it yet. Have you watched it?
Yeah, just last night, and my daughter graduated. That made me cry, and then I watched that, and that made me cry. And I'm not a crier. They did a really good job. And
I'm excited. I'm like holding it.
What?
I'm like holding it. I don't want to watch it yet because I don't want it to be over because I feel like we got like the sneak peek behind in the gala, but I'm excited to see it.
Great. Well, who knows? Maybe the correspondent will get turned into a film.
I know, right?
I think they are. Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Thanks, Chris. Okay, and then next we have trustee matters, and I just have the one thing, which is to put on the calendar to confirm with everyone that we are having our retreat on Sunday, August 23rd. So that is the date I think we agreed previously.
Pick a place.
Are we doing it here?
Where are we doing it?
Like we booked this room.
No. I was just.
Yeah, I know, Benita. It's the fact if I knew everybody was going to be there in person, it would expand the options. But that is not an expectation that we have set. And I know that a number of people on this board have travel associated with their work. And I don't think there's any guarantees that we can have physical presence. I mean, if everybody said they were going to be there in person, it totally changes the equation for us. But as it is, that makes for a complicated thing in terms of finding a venue. Because we can't do it at the library, no vote. That's not, so I can't do it in Carnegie, which would be fine.
I'll be there in person.
I actually think I have a conflict on the 23rd now. Not that you should move it for my benefit, but I have a wedding that weekend. But if that's just me, we should just keep it, and that's my problem.
Okay. Yeah, last year I think I had to go to my mom's house for a funeral, and I was able to attend like some of the day remotely, which was something. So that's always an option.
Okay.
All right.
Could we be in the other room?
Well, where do we have the technology?
You can go upstairs to the
that's-
mesa room. It's smaller.
Yeah.
But we can't go to the other main room?
The Boulder Creek room?
Yeah.
Not really.
It's booked.
Yeah.
For August.
Yeah. We have no
Pull.
Yeah, we don't.
We don't.
Okay, anything
Welcome to
else?
my world.
Right, okay. Anything else for trustee matters? Okay, legal counsel updates?
So we've obviously talked a lot about the election. We put in the packet 2 proposed questions. A lot of us have been using that initial phrase of without increasing taxes. It says without increasing tax levy rate because it's really related to the mill levy.
Right.
But those are the questions that we proposed at this point. Along with David, we reached out to the state library to see if they're tracking any of the past elections. From what they told us, there's only been 3 elections on it. One of them was Kiowa, and that was when the law first came out, and so they didn't have the necessarily required language that you have now. That one passed. Then there was the Buena Vista or Chaffee County, and then Montrose was the other, and Montrose was unsuccessful. So there's not that much data out there so far. Keep in mind, Montrose was also trying to pass a mill levy increase at the same time, so that, of course, will impact the election results.
For the library.
Yes.
Can you introduce yourself real quick?
Courtney and Tara.
No, yeah.
Sorry,
With
Senator Vanderwall and Milky, yep. And so that's kind of the the data that's out there so far. Of course, just like you all, other districts are considering whether to go to an election this fall or in later cycles. But the other key part about July is, as we've talked about, once you call an election or decide to go to an election, then it changes how you can speak about the election. The board is allowed to pass a resolution in support of it. It's pretty limited though what you can put in there, but you're also allowed to have a fact sheet in terms of how the funds would support anything. So that relates to the other discussions that you've all have had in terms of any needs that the library has. You can speak to those. And that's another way to essentially speak in favor of it without being directly related to the election. It's supposed to be really fact-based. So you would want to speak to the needs of the library and what you all have determined. So those are kind of the key things to keep in mind. It sounds like July is going to be a heavy meeting. The other piece that we wanted to touch on, we did actually speak with Adriana today, and it came to our attention that there will be a likely need for a budget amendment for 2025 and 2026. And the auditor flagged it as well, and it relates to how the grant funds were treated. And it sounds as though they were kind of separated out into their own budget. And so budget amendment is simple, it's very routine for districts, but you do need to have the required notice and a public hearing. And so we just want to flag that for being on the July agenda as well. Usually there's not public comment, but you do need to have the opportunity for the public to speak to the budget. And again, this would be a 2025 and a 2026, just to incorporate essentially the grant budget into the overall budget. Didn't know that had been bifurcated and treated as two separate budgets. So
Does it have to be done in July or can it be done in August?
So to the earlier point, it can be done in August, but then you'd want the audit to have an extension, which also is routinely done. September is when the official deadline is if you get the extension, which again, extensions are not an issue, but.
We had to do one last year as well.
Yeah,
And I think that the city does one every year. I think
They're very
we'll
common.
probably be doing one. But I didn't know, Jennifer's online, I know we had talked about when we would do it, if it has to be July, best if it's July or.
As long as they get the extension, it can be later than that. Because again, it's related to the audit.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of why the timing is a little bit crucial, but it doesn't have to be July, especially knowing that it's a packed meeting, but it is, I wanted to put that on your all's radar.
And so like just procedurally, so you said that we would have to pass a resolution, going to the ballot issue, not the audit issue. So would we need to pass that in July when we made decisions about it? So you would provide us with a resolution?
In terms of, are you saying, speaking to the one that's in support of?
Yes.
So we could, again, that's part of why it would be helpful to have from you all input about what you would want to be listed in terms of what are the key initiatives that you want to speak to. But the fact sheet doesn't have to be before, and the resolution actually doesn't necessarily need to be before you call the election.
Okay.
If the resolution it's related, but they're not succinct.
Okay, that helps a lot, because we're not gonna have to answer those questions until after we decide, and then,
Well, I just wondered about timing. So do we have an August meeting and an August retreat?
yes.
Wait, do we? And why,
Just a retreat.
so,
Just a
and
retreat.
why did we scrap the June meeting? I'm just wondering.
It's just annually what we've done.
Yes,
We
but
haven't,
I guess I
except for the
just
first year.
hear about all these things on, and I just wonder if we consider having a June meeting. Just
I
because.
think we'll be
I
fine.
think we'll be fine too.
We haven't had
Because-
one the last 2 months.
Yeah, but if we're not having an August meeting, if we're having this August retreat, then it's just like, I don't know, and then it's September and we'd have to have a fact sheet and some of these other things. Just seems like.
Last year, did you have an August board meeting?
I
think you did.
I think we did.
You had a meeting and.
I can't recall that.
We
like
did,
it was.
because we had
When did
others.
we get the information about the?
We did have an August meeting, because I think we had to do a budget.
I feel like
I can see, I can. Anyway, I'm just hearing a lot of things. And then just to your point though, in terms of sort of our needs or the rationale, our rationale relates to legislation. It's not like a need of, oh, we have a boiler to fix or an HVAC system. It's not about financial need for the debrucing fix, re-debrucing fix, right?
Well,
I mean, are we making that
It's ongoing
storyline?
cost. So
Yeah.
it is, we did 50 years of analysis. The annual compound increase in assessed value was 5.6% every year. Like, that was historically the value which we built the model off of. We were looking at 4% roughly as how we built up the model. So for the first 4 years of the district, 24, 25, 26, 27, and all of those years are going to be flat. Like, we will be, it's the same boat that the county's in. The county's cutting $13 million. They're going to lay off 70 people. It's the same boat that probably the city is in. That's when they're going to raise taxes. Denver did the same thing. We're all in the same boat in the sense in which government financing is crippled by this legislation. Unless we're going to cut services, without cutting services, we need to see the increase more in line with historical numbers. It doesn't have to be 5.6 every year. It was 5.6 every year for 50 years. That's what it averaged out to be in Boulder. I know that's not like every other county in Colorado, but for us, we built our model based on an assumption of roughly a 4% increase here. So in order just to pay staff wage increases, at minimum, that we need to see the money when it actually arrives. And I mean, I don't know. I'm speculating here. I'm not going to speculate on the economy, but Boulder is an island.
Yes.
If you build a city on an island, property values go up. We need to be able to benefit from those values going up and occur. If not, I don't know how we do this, right? Like, it's if we remain flat and people's for me, it's ludicrous what the legislation. I can't stress it enough. You cannot say, it's the same thing with Tabor, right? You can't say that when there's a bad year, we'll just eat it. And then when there's a good year, well, you don't really get to reap the benefit. Does a rising tide lift all boats or not? And in the case of Tabor, it did not. Unless localities and municipalities and cities decided to debruce. If you decided to debruce, which we did, then a rising tide raised all boats. There are some counties where that's not the case, but they don't have as much industry or residential value as we have. And the expectations for services keep going up. The cost of materials alone, like the cost of building materials is going up on average 12% a year. Mm-hmm. How do they expect us to keep operating with a 0% growth on an annual basis? It's just not feasible. And 4 years is frankly longer than we projected in any model that we did. We did project years of negative growth in the 20-year model. We predicted a flat year. We never predicted 4 years in a row. It's not something we planned for. And if 2028 were to bring any kind of benefit, if it suddenly was 6%, we need all 6. If it's 5 again, or if it's flat again, we'll deal with it. That's just the nature of being in a public entity.
As I see it, it's like a dam. If it rains a lot, you keep most of the water, and then when it doesn't rain a lot, you still got the water there. Because you were able to capture it. So I don't think it's going to have a financial, even if it passed or if it didn't pass. I mean, even if it passed, it's not going to affect people's pocketbooks in the next probably cycle of assessments either. So I think that's the best place to be in when people are like, oh, it's not going to affect me.
Well, in 27, 28, 29.
As a having run an election campaign in every election too, I hope I'm thinking. I don't know, we'll see.
But then the presumption is, I mean, given the premise, Boulder's an island, historical average is 5.6 annually.
Yeah.
By 2030, one would expect to see a significant bounce back, right? That's just, the law of averages, it's unlikely that suddenly the housing market and the commercial real estate market tanks. That seems an unlikely scenario. I realize Andy speculates on it. I think it's possible. I mean, it is a possibility, in which case, yeah, then we're in dire straits, but it's not likely, given history.
So what decision, sounds like we need to make it, do we need to make a decision tonight, or are we going to decide this at the July meeting? And to Benita's point, do we just want to meet in June and figure this out?
Well, we can, I mean, if the issue is bringing back a list of conditions, I mean, I can do that for your July meeting.
Yeah, and Doug did find that we did meet in August of last year, so we could still meet in August.
Yeah,
We
you
should
met
at least have one more.
just before the retreat.
Yeah, the 18th, the Tuesday the 18th.
And that's the 19th.
We had a couple of business items. I think that's what it was it?
Yeah, so we could still do that, and then that might help spread things out.
Just that tentatively, and then you decide next meeting.
Yeah, I mean, I think right now, we probably are just doing it, but yeah.
I personally like June off, but.
Oh, this is for August, right?
Yeah, this is for August
I'm
18th.
expressing my.
August 18th.
My.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anything else? Report?
All right, just let us know when you'd like the budget amendment, since we will need to publish notice.
I'll have to talk to you.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Yes, we'd like to do the grant budget amendments along with the operating budget amendment that we need to do for this year as well. And so if we are able to get an extension on the audit, that would give us some more time to prepare the adjustments that we have for the operating budget.
Great.
We only want to publicly notice one meeting for budget amendments is kind of what I'm saying. We don't want to do it in July and then in August. We want to do it all at once.
August, let's assume that there's an August board meeting.
Yeah, I think there is at this point.
And did you have a date?
It's August 18th.
Yeah.
August 18th.
My mom's birthday. You can call her before the meeting.
You can call it way before.
Okay, anything else? All right, we're adjourned.
You gotta gavel us out.
Enjoy your.
There you go.
There we go.
Hey, embrace it. Thank you.
Did you get your boy?
Yeah.
See you, Andy. Good night.
Yes.
Or Andy, it's like 4 a.m.
I know, oh yeah, I told him to go to bed.
When quicker than 380 kids.